Hello students. In evolution chapter up to now we have discussed definition, various theories, and in this section now we will read about mechanism of evolution. So there are three famous scientists who gave their mechanism on evolution. First one is Lamarck, second one Darwin, and third one Hugo de Vries. So let's take first point, Hugo de Vries. Hugo de Vries, based on his work on evening primrose, brought forth the idea of mutation. What is mutation? Mutation is large difference arising suddenly in a population. Mutation means sudden change in the gene action. In a gene, if any nucleotide going to displace or a new nucleotide added, it is called change in the genetic material, and this process occurs suddenly, then it is known as mutation. And this occurs in a population. If this process occurs in a population, so it leads to the introduction of a new type of character or the species in that population. So Hugo de Vries gave the mutation theory, in which the large difference arising suddenly in a population due to mutation. Third point, mutation are random and directionless. As I have told that mutation occurs suddenly. Change in the genetic material occurs suddenly. So it is random and directionless also, because in any generation at any time it can occur, so no direction. While the Darwin's variation are small and directional, because as you have seen in Darwin finches, in starting only one type of bird at Galapagos Island were present, which feed on seeds, but during the course of longer time, small changes occurs in its beak according to their habit to eat their food, and it continuously passes to the other generations. Darwin's variation are small and directional. Next point, Hugo de Vries believed that mutation causes speciation. Speciation means origin of new species, and hence called saltation. Saltation means single step large mutation. Okay. So here we can discuss the difference between these theories, Lamarckism, Darwinism, and mutation theory, with respect to certain properties. So start with the first property, that is vital force. According to the Lamarck, every organism has an internal vital force that tends to increase its size up to a certain limit. So what do you mean by this vital force? Vital force means every organism has a willpower to change in itself, according to the Lamarck. So that in the previous video we have seen that how the giraffe increase its neck length. Okay, next, according to Darwin and according to Hugo de Vries, they do not support or do not believe on vital force. The next property is use and disuse of the organs. According to the Lamarck, the organs put to more use are believed to develop more, while the organs not used begin to degenerate. You have seen, as we have discussed earlier, uh, about our nictitating membrane, about our um, vermiform appendix, because in humans no use of nictitating membrane and vermiform appendix, and it is reduced, and the organs which we use more is more developed in case of humans, and this property is with all organism. Next is Darwin and mutation theory. Both are silent about this property, means they do not tell anything about the use and disuse of the organ. Third property is inheritance of acquired characters. According to the Lamarck, the characters acquired by an organism during its life are believed to get transferred the next generation. So all the things which an organism acquired will transfer to the next generation definitely, according to the Lamarck. But according to the Darwin, all the living cell produce minute particles, or also known as pangenesis, which pass into germ cells. Germ cells means gametes, sperms and ovum are for transmission to the offspring, means only those character will transfer to the next generation for which any minute particles transfer into their gametes of parents. According to the mutation theory, only those variations are transferred to offspring which originate in germ cells or in the cells which form germ cells. Means according to Hugo de Vries, only those characters are transferred to the next generation of which effect is present on genetic cells, germ cells or the reproductive cells. But those characters will not transfer to the next generation of which effect occurs on vegetative cell. But according to the Lamarck, all the characters are transferred, whether it is vegetative or reproductive character. But according to Hugo de Vries, only those characters will be transferred of which effect present on only the gametic cells. Other points: struggle for existence. Struggle for existence. According to the Lamarck, the theory does not clearly spell out struggling for existence in relation to the high biotic potential. Means Lamarck said nothing about the struggle for existence. And Hugo de Vries both support the struggle for existence. As Darwin said that organisms produce more offsprings and the available food are and space are so less, so that struggle for existence ensure among us them. Next property, origin of variation. Origin of variations. Variations appear in the organism in response to the change in the environment, conscious reaction, desire, or use and disuse of the organs. According to the Lamarck, means variations means changes that appear in an organism. The changes appear in response to environment. Conscious reactions means our habit, desire, our wish, our willpower, use and disuse of organs. These are the points due to variations appear. But according to Darwin, variation appears automatically. And according to Hugo de Vries, variations appears due to the change in the genetic makeup, means change in the genes. Next property, progress of evolution. According to the Lamarck, evolution is a continuous process which move in a direction governed by environment and appetency. Appetency means your desire, means evolution will carry forward if environment and you both desire. But according to the Darwin, evolution is a continuous process and the direction of which is governed by nature only. And according to the Hugo de Vries, evolution is jerky. Jerky means sudden process. It occurs suddenly and the direction of which is unpredictable and it is governed by nature. Okay, so these are some points. According to some scientists, you have discussed. Now the new topic is Hardy-Weinberg principle. So, in a given population, frequency of occurrence of alleles or the genes can be finding out. According to Hardy-Weinberg principle, in a population, we can find out the frequency of any particular gene or allele, and these frequencies remains fixed and even remain the same throughout the generation. Was represented by Hardy-Weinberg principles using the algebraic equation. This principle states that allele frequencies in a population are stable and is constant from generation to generation. The gene pools remain constant. This is called genetic equilibrium. The sum total of all the allelic frequencies is 1. Maybe the certain point in this line you have not understood yet, but just see all the things, then I will repeat it again to make you understand clearly. See here a binomial equation for the Hardy-Weinberg principle, which is p plus q whole square equals to p square plus 2pq plus q square equals to 1. In this principle, first you have to know what p, q and these things. First, what is p? P is the frequency of dominant allele in a population. What is q? Q is the frequency of recessive allele in a population. You know that dominant alleles represented by capital letter, recessive alleles represented by small letter. But P represents the frequency of dominant allele in a population and Q represents the frequency of recessive allele in a population. P square is the frequency of individual having dominant alleles, dominant gene in its chromosome in a population, and q square is the frequency of recessive individual in a population, and 2pq represents the frequency of heterozygous individual in a population. So again, see on binomial equation, it is, see here, p square means if we talk about any particular population, just suppose your Mohammadi Khedi, there are 100 of may just suppose there are 100 people are living. So in that population, p square means frequency of dominant individuals in a population. So in out of 100, few having the dominant alleles, dominant gene, few having the recessive genes only, and few in that Mohammadi Khedi having heterozygous individuals, heterozygous genes. So p square for all the dominant individuals, q square for all the recessive individuals, and 2pq for heterozygous, and sum total is 1, means it is out of 1. If we talk about percentage, then it is out of 100. Okay, so can you suggest any other condition? No, because according to the genetics, we have either we have dominant genes, or we have totally recessive genes, or we have heterozygous condition. These three conditions is present only. So if we sum all total of the organism, then its sum is equals to 1. This is the Hardy-Weinberg principle. Okay, in that gene pool means when we talk about the 100 peoples in the Mohammadi Khedi, so this is the gene pool of 100 peoples. Gene pool means all total of genes present in the group of that 100 persons. Okay, so by this equation you may understood more clearly. First, p square is the homozygous dominant, means this person having, if we talk about a particular gene which is represented by A, so p square is the frequency of all the homozygous dominant organism with capital A on both of its chromosome. In case of humans there are 23 pair of chromosome. So if we talk about pair of chromosome, so in one set of chromosome capital A, and same in the another set of chromosome also. This is called dominant homozygous condition. So p square is the frequency of that homozygous dominant individuals. Next, plus 2pq means in that person's one set of chromosome having dominant allele and another set having recessive allele, that is heterozygous condition. It is represented by 2pq. And q square is the homozygous recessive allele, means both of its chromosome having recessive alleles. So p square plus 2pq plus q square equals to 1. So okay, now again see the principle. This principle, Hardy-Weinberg principle, states that allele frequencies in a population are stable and is constant from generation to generation. The gene pool remain constant. This is called genetic equilibrium, and the sum total of all the allelic frequency is 1. I think now you have understood. To make it more clear, just see this question which is based on Hardy-Weinberg equation. The question says that the frequency of two alleles in a gene pool is 0.19, this is for dominant allele, and 0.81, this is for recessive allele. Assume that the population is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Calculate the percentage of heterozygous individual in a population. So you know the equation, that is p square plus 2pq plus q square equals to 1, where heterozygous individual is represented by 2pq. 2pq. So according to the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium equation, heterozygous is 2pq. And you know that frequency of dominant allele is represented by p, and which is 0.19, and the frequency of recessive allele is represented by q, and it is 0.81. Therefore the number of heterozygous individual is equals to 2pq. So 2 into p, which is 0.19, into 0.81 equals to 0.31, because in a gene pool the sum total of all the gene pool is equals to 1. But the question percentage is asking, so it is out of 100. When it is out of 100, so you have to multiply by 100, then it will equals to 31%. Okay, in the same question we can find out the homozygous recessive individuals also. You know that it is represented by q square. So you have to multiply q into q, or 0.81 into 0.81, because it is q square. It will 0.66, but it is out of 1, and question is percentage question is asking percentage, so you have to find out of 100 multiply it by 100 and you will found 66%. I think you have understood the Hardy-Weinberg equation, Hardy-Weinberg principle, and the question which are asking in this equation. Okay, now the factors which affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, because we know that all sum total of all type of gene pool, sum total of all type of alleles in a gene pool remain constant, and it remain constant throughout the generations, but sometime it varies due to some factors. What are the factors which affect this equation? When the frequency is measured, the actual value varies. That indicates the extent of evolutionary changes. Means the variation is due to some evolutionary changes. Change of frequency in a allele in a population resulted due to evolution. The factors that affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium are: first one may be the gene migration or the gene flow, means movement of genes from one population to another population. Okay, as we have discussed that in Mohammadi Khedi there are 100 peoples, and if some people move from that population to at another place, maybe in Lucknow, maybe in Sajapur, then and maybe some new genes may be introduced in Mohammadi Khedi, then overall in gene pool maybe some genes may be deleted in the form of organism or may be added. This is called gene migration or the gene flow, that is movement of gene from one population to another population. This affects the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Second, genetic drift, variation in the relative frequency of the different genotype in a small population owing to the chance disappearance of a particular genes as individual die or do not reproduce. In genetic drift there are certain in a gene pool there are certain genes, but due to large scale death or the organism do not produce any one of the reason, and if the some genes are deleted or removed, then it is called genetic drift. Here this gene, in case of genetic drift, gene is completely deleted, but in case of gene migration it moves from one population to another population. Next factor is mutation. You know about the mutation. A mutation is a change in DNA sequence and it occurs suddenly. It may occur by mistake during the cell division or due to influence of any chemical. That chemical is known as mutagen, which can change in the genes. So it may affect the ratio. Genetic recombination, you know the recombination, if a new gene is added or deleted in an individual's genetic makeup. Okay, see the definition. Genetic recombination, exchange of genetic material between different organisms which leads to the production of offspring with combination of traits that differ from those found in either parents. We will discuss more about genetic recombination in biotechnology chapter. There you will see that in a bacteria the plasmid is present. We can change, we can alter, or we can add our desired gene in the plasmid of that bacteria. Means we have changes, recombinate that genetic material. This is called actually genetic recombination. In this way we can, in this way this process also affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay, so next is natural selection of the Darwin. You know about this. This is a process whereby species which have traits that enable them to adapt in a new environment, survive and reproduce, and then pass on their genes to the next generation. Means in the natural selection, an individual, by its ability, survive in the environment, and by survival it feed and reproduce its offsprings, and the genes of the ability to survive in the environment will passes to the next generation also. So these are the factors which affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Now we will discuss in brief account for evolution. So here I have given timeline because in this topic you have many data to learn. So timeline will be given, and according to the timeline what changes during the evolution has been taking place we will discuss. So 2000 million years ago first cellular form of life appears. Okay, first cellular form of life, it is cell. It present or first originated approximately 2000 million years ago. MYA means million years ago. After that, in these cell life forms, some cells had the ability to release oxygen similar to the light reaction in the photosynthesis. Means in that cellular form some cells work like maybe blue green algae which produce oxygen also. Okay, after that 500 million years ago invertebrates were produced. Then 350 million years ago jawless fishes introduced, and in the same time fish with the stout and strong fins could move on the land and go back to the water. These animals are called lobe fins, evolved into the first amphibians that lived on both land and water. So lobe fins. Lobe fins are those fishes having the strong and stout fins, well developed fins were there. These fishes can live on both on land and on water. So they are the first amphibians. So about 350 million years ago jawless fishes were introduced, and in the same time they becomes amphibians also. Okay, and about 320 million years ago seaweeds and few plants were existed. You must know that plants were introduced on this earth earlier than the animals, so these were present from a very early time. But here it is about seaweeds because type of plant. Angiosperms are the latest plant. Okay, but before that bryophytes and pteridophytes were present, and more before there were algae phytoplanktons were present. So it is said about 2 320 million years ago seaweeds and few plants were existed over there. First organism that invaded land were plants. Means on the land the plants were introduced first, and after that animals come on the land. Okay, so you have to remember, uh, see from the first point, 2000 million years ago first cellular life forms introduced. Then 500 million years ago invertebrates were introduced. 50 million years ago jawless fishes and first amphibians were introduced. Okay, continue. In 1938 a fish caught in South Africa happened to be a coelacanth which was thought to be extinct. Okay, earlier it was think that maybe coelacanth may extinct, but it was found in 1938 in South Africa. However, these were ancestor of modern day frogs and salamanders. The amphibians evolved into reptiles. They lay shelled eggs, which do not dry up in sun, unlike those of the amphibians. Again, we only see their modern day descendants, the turtles, tortoise, and crocodiles. Okay, one thing you have to keep in your mind that on this earth, if we talk about the animals, the first life forms were fishes present in the under the water, and from fish amphibians were produced. Amphibians can live on both land and water. From amphibians reptiles were evolved, and after the reptiles birds and mammals both are evolved from the reptiles. So in this sequence all the things are written here. Here it is said that modern day frogs and salamander are present, but its ancestor were that fishes like coelacanth. Okay, and from that amphibians the reptiles were evolved. And what are the characters which were present in a reptilian egg? Its egg were shelled, and shelled do not dry up in the sun. Okay, and their descendants or the current generation of the reptiles which are present nowadays are turtle, tortoise, crocodiles, etc. Okay, next point. In next 200 million years or so, the reptiles of the different shapes and size dominated on the earth. Giant ferns like the pteridophytes were present, but they all fell to form coal deposits slowly. Okay, so it is said about the era of dinosaurs. In Jurassic Park movie, you have seen the big size of dinosaurs, but along with that, you also seen their large size of plants. But in that era, angiosperms were not introduced. Angiosperms were not present in Jurassic period. So the tall trees which were present there are pteridophytes. These were giant ferns. But nowadays all around you see the pteridophytes which are very small, because that giant pteridophytes were fell down, and now it is converted into coals and petroleum under the surface of earth and ocean. Okay, in okay this point, 200 million years ago, some of the land reptiles went back into the water to evolve into fish like reptiles, probably the ichthyosaurus. Okay, so 200 million years ago, you have to remember this. And some reptiles were go back into the water and evolve the fish like characters, but they were actually reptiles. Example is ichthyosaurus. Next point, the land reptiles were of course the dinosaurs. The biggest of them, that is Tyrannosaurus rex. You have to remember this name. And this was about 20 feet in height and had huge fearsome dagger like teeth. And about 65 million years ago, the dinosaurs suddenly disappeared from the earth. We do not know the true reason behind this. Some say climatic changes killed them, some say most of them evolved into birds. The truth may live in between. Small sized reptiles of that era still exist today. Some of the reptiles evolved into birds, later, some of them to the mammals. Mammals were viviparous. You know the properties of the mammals. Viviparous, they are more intelligent in sensing and avoiding the danger. First mammal were like the shrews. Okay. Now, the origin and evolution of the man. This is the history of man. Before this point, you have see the whole total timeline of all the organism, and here we will uh, discuss only for the man. So the uh, first organism which have characteristics like the modern human are Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus. They were about the Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus properties. We will see the properties. First is they were existed about 15 million years ago. Fossils were discovered in Ethiopia and Tanzania in the eastern Africa. They walked like the gorilla and chimpanzee. Ramapithecus were more like man. Dryopithecus was more like ape. Okay. So this is about Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus. You have to remember its timeline, that is it existed about 15 million years ago. Its fossils were discovered in Ethiopia and Tanzania, which is present in eastern Africa. They walk like gorilla and chimpanzee. Ramapithecus especially, they were more likely to the man, and Dryopithecus were more likely to the ape. After that, Australopithecus were introduced about 2 million years ago, and they lived in the East African grassland. They hunted with stone weapons, but essentially they ate fruit. Okay. Third, Homo habilis. Okay, Homo habilis is the scientific name, so it is written like italics. You know the method how it is written. Homo habilis. They are called the first human-like being or hominidae. Okay, hominidae is the class. The brain capacity were the brain capacity were 650 to 800 cc. Cc is the capacity, centimeter cube means volume. Its brain volume is too small, 650 to 800 cc. They probably did not eat meat. Okay, Homo habilis means first human like being, not eat meat. Brain capacity is 650 to 800 cc. Okay. Next is Homo erectus. The fossils were discovered in Java in 1891. The Homo erectus were present about 1.5 million years ago. Brain size little bit larger, 900 cc, and they ate meat. Okay. The next one, Neanderthal man. They lived near the East and Central Asia between 1 lakh to 40,000 years back. Brain size 1400 cc. They used to hide to protect their body and buried their dead. Now you can see yourself in the mirror. Homo sapiens arose in the Africa, moved across continents, and developed into distinct races. During the Ice Age, between 75,000 to 10,000 years ago, this modern man came into existence. Prehistoric cave are developed about 18,000 years ago. One such cave painting by the prehistoric human can be seen at Bhimbetka rock shelter in Raisan district. It's a Raisan district of the Madhya Pradesh. Agriculture came around 10,000 years back and human settlements started. So, agriculture, how it is old? It is about 10,000 years old. okay, when it is come in between us. So this is the timeline and also the history of human, starting from the Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus, then Australopithecus, then Homo habilis, then Homo erectus, then Neanderthal man, and now the Homo sapiens. Okay, so this is a total story of the humans. So it is all about this chapter of evolution. You must read all the points from these slides as well as from your NCERT book, and you must do some questions which are present at the last of this page, last page of this chapter, and we will discuss from the next video with a new chapter. Okay, thank you.